Okay, so the 5 social media platforms for business. This is obviously subjective, right? I mean, like, there's platforms that are in the news because they're extremely hot, because people are spending the majority of their time on them. But one of the main things to consider is if you are not, is if your main demographic isn't on this platform, then maybe it doesn't make sense for you, right? So that's why you kind of need to figure, okay, what is my actual social media plan? Like, which one should I be focusing my time on? One of the good things is, there's certain platforms that you're able to post amongst all of the platforms, like Hootsuite and other kind of paid platforms. So you basically create, that takes care of a lot of the legwork, whereas if you create something, maybe you create a long form video for YouTube and then you end up using that clip on Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever, that's one way that you're able to utilize some of the same content for multiple platforms. But then, you still need to post it natively, and there's still a bunch of filters that you're going to use on the Instagram or some of these other platforms that make it more native. So you kind of need to be aware what you're doing. For a while, I think addressing the actual platform that you're on was like cool and fun, but now it's like, you could still do it, it's still like, hey LinkedIn, what's up, I'm doing blah blah blah, or hey Instagram, hey Facebook. And it shows, it's that personalization that shows people that you're actually, you're focused on that platform instead of just using it as like a second fiddle. So, that's one of the things you consider. So I'll try and do this a lot faster because I had, of course, 30 minutes of content and it's all blurry. So the 5 platforms that I think you should focus on for your business. Number 1, LinkedIn. This platform is almost 20 years old. I can't believe that, but that's, I guess, what happens now that I'm seeing, now that I see social media platforms that are old enough to drink. And that's impressive, but I think it's still one of the most underutilized platform, simply because it's scary, right? Like, that's your old managers, your old bosses, your old coworkers, like everyone in your professional world on there. And then you're going to start being somebody else, right? Like, that makes it sort of intimidating. But I think it's also one of these platforms where there's not as many people contributing to it. And so if you do something a little different, the typical content is like corporate rah-rah stuff, but you could still have interesting content that isn't necessarily just corporate rah-rah. Like, a lot of your stuff that might apply for YouTube and Facebook would be similar. You probably don't really want to have your dancing videos that you're using on platforms in here, but it can still get the message across, and maybe you want to do a couple of them, like, hey, follow me on this other platform for more fun content, whereas here you're going to be focused on your business client. It is more like B2B style, but these are still C's. So you can still B2C some of these people because they are your customers, and if you're trying to business them, but you can also business to customer them, and that's one way to go about it. So LinkedIn, instead of it, you show up in people's feeds or people search for you through their company, like through the actual search bar on there. So like, you have a company page and you're going to post some of your how-to videos that you post on YouTube, and then some of your fun content just to share and see that other people just show that stuff is out there too. So I think LinkedIn is one platform. Second one, this is because this is the number 2 search engine in the world, but YouTube is going to be one of the next platform that you want to focus on. It might be where you focus on your more SEO and your keyword direct content, whereas some of the other ones you're just going to focus more on hashtags. YouTube is the number 2 search engine. It's also where it's the second platform where people consume the most video. So typically it's shorter form to longer form, like 5 to 10 minutes, even longer if it's available. But one of the things to consider about YouTube, there's obviously trying to build a YouTube following, but then there's also your business is doing well and you're doing business and you have customers, and YouTube is a supplement to those people. So say you're a plumber or you're a car dealer, or you're a photographer, and so you need, like, how do I light my videos? What's the best mic for my videos? Obviously me, mic, but microphone for your videos. For like a plumber, you would say, why is my sink clogged? Or how do I fix a clogged sink? That will do a couple different things. One, since it's the number 2 search engine, people might just instinctively people go to YouTube to search for a problem. So they'll just instinctively go there, and that's where they'll search how to fix their video, or how to fix their sink. The other thing is, people, if they do it on Google, if they type that in Google, you have an option to show up from your YouTube on Google as the number 1 result at a timestamp at like 30 to 45 seconds, like where your video addresses the things that these people are talking about. So then that just helps your SEO. Obviously, it's going to be people that are responding more, like in interacting with your video, and the more people that have seen your video, the more relevant it becomes. So, that's the thing about posting regular, but at the same time, if you just made one really good how to unclog your toilet video and millions of people see it, like, that just continues to be something that's shown to people when they're trying to unclog their toilet. Get it? Does that make sense? But it's also an SEO thing, because you're adding a backlink. You're adding the backlink from YouTube, where there's a lot of engagement and people follow that video, right? So that's where the YouTube helps your Google SEO. There are other demographics out there. One of them, there's like things, sub demographics to sort of consider. One of the things that I found the most interesting about this is that like 70+% of all demographics, like 13 to 18, 18 to 26, 26 to 35, 35 to 45, 45 to 60, like 70+% of all of them are on YouTube. So like YouTube is a weird, people don't go as much like they would Facebook and Instagram to sort of check in on their daily news, but all of those people still use it. So I think to have it as a reference for your how-to or your why-to or why does this videos, like, it's very important. So definitely consider YouTube. Going to other. The third one, now this isn't obvious, but I still think Facebook, and under that umbrella, I do think having an Instagram presence is extremely important. Facebook has its own offshoots as to why I think it's almost more important than Instagram, because the community on Facebook is different than the community on Instagram. Where Instagram, you're hoping to use hashtags to get involved, like through the search and the discover. On Facebook, I think one of the main important things is that there's all these sub-neighborhood groups. So if I'm looking for Cook County, there's a neighborhood group, and there's like Portage Park, and there's Lincoln Park, and there's all these other sub-Cook County neighborhoods. And so if you do business in those areas, a lot of times people will ask, what is a good photographer or video person, plumber in this area? Hopefully you've made enough goodwill with people that someone will just drop your name in. But what they'll do is they'll @ Ball Brain Creative. They'll @ your Facebook name. And so A lot of times you'll put the web link. People may or may not leave Facebook to go check out the site, but if there's just an in link, if you just have a Facebook link, people will easily click on that, go to your Facebook page, and they'll find out about you. Which is why it's important to keep your Facebook page up to date. Now, the one disheartening thing about it is it's going to seem like a black hole of like, why do I do my content? It's like a black hole of just posting and putting content on Facebook and no one's responding. And so this is where you need to sort of trust in the process, because posting and then you get like 2 to 3 likes and it's not a bunch of stuff. But one of the powerful things about Facebook is people may bypass Google to just search on Facebook. So like while you're working on SEO, which is like your website and all these other external sites to make you as top, you're also competing like in SEO internally with Facebook. So and this is where that engagement, and so people are not liking your stuff, they're not commenting as much as you would like. But if someone hears about your business through one of these local neighborhood groups, then they go to your page and they see that they're like, oh well, it's two things. Like if they see that you haven't posted in 5 years, they'll be like, what's going on? So then there's no interest. If they see that you're posting recently, and then it kind of drags them down, because people always go and then they scroll up, right? Like you go to the page and then you just scroll down really fast, scroll down really fast to see what else is out there. So if there's something of interest, then that's where you sort of get them on the next post or the next couple posts to hopefully bring people in. Then you'll hopefully get them to like your page, and then you hopefully have more opportunities to bring them aboard as a client. And that's what I think is one of the most important things. It also helps for your Google SEO. Then that's more, if you have more engagements and content on your Facebook page, then it helps boost your Google listing, right? So that's another thing. And then of course, if you have recommendations and the like on your Facebook, then that just always helps the content and the engagement and all that thing. Instagram also under this, so this is technically 3.5 is Instagram, because Instagram is like, it's more used than Facebook, and I think people spend more time on Instagram than they do Facebook. So while you're not going to get like the SEO and the community thing that you get on Facebook, like Instagram, it's just, there's still a divide. So it's like half the world is on Facebook and the other half is on Instagram, and they're still on one or the other. Like, and that's the other big thing. So it's kind of, they're both under that meta. You can use similar content that you would on one into the other. One where you don't have to use any photos, that being Facebook. Instagram, you have to use either a photo or a video. But now Instagram's creator has a lot of things where you can create real time, and you can react to videos, and you can do voiceovers to videos. So there's extra things that you can do in Instagram to create stuff, and then if you need, you take what you created and then you post that on Facebook. So again, it's where people hang out. So it's, both of those are like important, and why I think you should look into those. But to not cheap out on the 4, I think, I actually think is Yelp. I just went traveling, and so basically every night and every day when we were looking for brunch, or we were looking for a bar, or we were looking for a music venue, Yelp is where I go. This is where kind of I have a divide with my wife, where she goes to Google Maps and just types, breakfast near me, or just breakfast or whatever. And so this is also like a 4 split. So you can do Yelp, Yelp definitely has a lot more pay-to-play things, but people are actively on Yelp looking for stuff. Full disclosure, I don't think I've ever gotten any business actually from Yelp. I've gotten business on all these other platforms, but I don't think I've ever gotten any from Yelp. But I know personally, I use it. And I have given business to people that use Yelp. So like, that's how I know it works, right? So, again, there's a lot. Once you sign up, you're going to get a call from an ad person within 24 hours. And they'll keep calling until you actually talk to them. So be aware of that for whatever phone number you're going to put in. But I do think it's still worthwhile to have some kind of presence there. Separate side note, it does somewhat help with your SEO on Google. So you are giving yourself another page that can be referenced on Google to help some SEO. Google Maps, same kind of thing. The way both of these things work, ideally, is the more reviews you get, the higher it seems, and it seems like, oh, this is a real page and people are actually using it, because recommendations are like, the currency now these days. So the more people you get to review you and recommend you, the better you are off. 5. I'm gonna do it again. This is like, if you're B2B, I think Alignable might be a really good place for you. Why? Now, I've never gotten business here, but I've gotten some good communications here. And what this allows you to do is, they say they're more like a chamber of commerce. So you set up your location, and then basically when new people within your zip code join, then it recommends those businesses to you to join. Now, to get outside of that, they have pay to play, where you can get like 4 other neighborhoods, or the highest tier is to just go nationwide. So again, it depends on like where your service area is, but it's something to be aware of as a potential tool. Now, one of the things where I've found the most value with this site is that you actually go to the site and you join little subgroups, little message groups, and you ask questions, or you help answer questions. And you'll find that other marketing people have figured this out, and they're the majority of people that are asking questions on these sites. Like, I famously, or not famously, on a video where I said, what are the biggest challenges for you with doing video? And then I got, half the responses were from marketing people. You notice a lot of marketing people also post the questions to get people talking on these different forums. So people may be wary. Try not to be so obvious with what you're trying to do, because if you're like wanting to ask for the business, but you're trying to also be like helpful while you're asking, or like trying to interrogate a little more. So you just be cautious with what you're doing. But I still think it's worth it, right? And so these are 5 platforms that I think you should just be following. Well, 5. Technically, I think I said 7 or 8. But these are the ones that you should at least, for business. Honorable mention, Pinterest. Didn't even get into that. Twitch, if you're into live streaming. But Twitch, that also gets you to YouTube, where if you're into live streaming. Which can also get you to Instagram if you're into live streaming, which gets you onto LinkedIn if you're into live streaming. So, but those live stream videos, they're not key for everything, but you might find a use maybe once a month or every other month for like a fun live stream event if you have some big kind of push going. And that's why you're going to explore some of these things, because it's where people hang out aside from you, and so you can go to where they are, which is where they're on Twitch or they're on one of these other platforms, opposed to just like, otherwise you're just on your website and you're just hoping people will randomly SEO, find you, right? So that's sort of the reasoning behind why you're going to go and experiment on some of these other platforms. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. Maybe you'll even find a new niche. Like, maybe you might. So, now there's a couple caveats for business. 1, look at the demographic. 2, listen to your customers. The more customers you listen to, like paying customers, people that tell you either A, where they found you, or B, if they just tell you like where they are, they're like, oh my God, I can't get off of TikTok, or I can't get off of Instagram. Then it's like, okay, you have to do something there because they're telling you that like more people like them are there. But like if you go to the store and there's like 6 kinds of bread, you know, like there's the oat bread, there's wheat bread, there's white bread, there's sourdough, there's buttermilk, and then there's all the brands. Like, this is kind of the same thing with social. Like, everyone has their own flavor that they sort of get involved with. People don't go to Yelp daily to like check out news feeds, which is why that's almost more of a set it and forget it thing. You'll put some photos there, you'll have a profile, and then hopefully people just reach out to you. But like Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, what was the other one I said? Those are the things that and Alignable, and you're gonna put more updated content on those because people are going back to those daily. Whereas Yelp, it's like once they're interested and once they know they're like specifically searching for a plumber or a photographer, then that's where you have the best hope of getting found. So keep that in mind for obviously the stuff you need to do daily or weekly versus not. How much should you post? That's up to you. That's what you can afford. That's what you are like mentally and time-wise can actually afford. The reason to post as much as possible is because the more you post, the better opportunities you have for people to see the stuff, which allows them to engage with the stuff, which allows them to see your stuff, which gives the better opportunity for them to find you and hire you and stuff, right? So that's why as much as you can, you got to do at least once daily. Try and do 7 days a week, once a day, just one. And then once you feel like you've created enough content and you have sort of a backlog, then try twice a day or twice every couple days. And then you'll notice that like no one's posting on the weekends. This is of course why labor laws eventually got found, because it was like, oh, well, no one's open on the weekend, so let me open on the weekend all day. And then it's like, wait a minute, we need to have people sleep. We can't just because there's opportunities and an arbitrage for like no one's open here, let's just be open here, which is where Amazon sort of walked in. That's why. You'll see what works. Pay attention to your customers, pay attention to potential customers, see where those people are, and then you can understand the platforms. And then of course, if you need some consulting help, you need some photos or videos for any of these pages, this is of course where I can assist. I do monthly, quarterly sit-down photo shoots and or video content, so you have stuff to pepper in throughout all the other on-site and the other kind of content that you're pushing out. Which gets to the next thing. Is a podcast right for you?